All right, we're in the home stretch now. So let's do the UI next. Let's create a new scene. We're going to make this a canvas layer. Canvas layers are used for like HUDs and UIs where they're stuck to the screen rather than following the game camera. Our game camera is not moving at all in this game, but if it were to move, the HUD would not move along with the game camera. So that's why you would want to use a canvas layer here. Let's name that UI. So under this UI, let's have a margin container. And let's set that to full rect so it takes up the entire screen. And come down here to mouse filter ignore. We're not using any mouse inputs, but when you're building UIs out, and let's say you have a margin container here that's taking up the entire screen, you want to change mouse filter to ignore so that this won't soak up your mouse inputs and you won't be able to use your mouse in your game. So that's very common little thing to have to pay attention to. Let's have a left margin of 64, top margin of 32, right margin of 64, and a bottom margin of 32. So that's just going to give us some buffer away from the edge of the screen. Now let's come in here and create an HBox container. And inside of that, let's create a VBox container. And let's go shrink begin on the vertical here. And inside of there, let's create a label. This will be the score label. And then also in the VBox container, with the VBox container selected, let's do HBox container one more time. We can name this lives container. Now, I'm wishing that I didn't delete that line 2D for the ship that we had, because we're going to have to recreate that now. So let's just recreate that, name this ship with the 2. Let's just recreate that real quick. Come in here and put those in the center. And we can actually leave that there because then it fixes the gaps on the bottom of the ship. So it's not going to hurt us, but let's go ahead and copy that. Come back over here and we're going to paste that and then paste it 5 times. And let's select all of those and come down here to position. We're going to bump those down by 8. And let's actually give our score label some numbers in here real quick so we can see what's going on. Click on the lives container, and for the horizontal, we're going to shrink end. And then these line 2Ds don't actually detect that they have like a width and a height and all that. So we're just going to have to set these manually. So I'm going to do -8 on the first one here, and then -28, -48, -68, and -88. There we go. Let's come to the score label. Let's do a horizontal alignment of right. And let's come down to font size. We'll change that to 48. That's pretty large. Should we do 32? 38 maybe? No, let's go with 38. Let's access as unique name on all of these, and let's rename these to Life 01. I should have done this before I duplicated it. But Life 02. let's access all of these as unique name as well. Let's also come up here to the margin container and add a center container here. And let's do on the vertical shrink begin. And then we'll add a label under that. This will be the high score label. And we can set that to 99999 just to see it there in the middle. And finally, let's come under UI here and create a control. And then under that, we're going to add a label here. This is going to be the start label. So we're just going to put in here, press S to start. And we'll position this manually. So let's come down here to position. So we're going to do 1920 divided by 2. That's size, not position. So position, 1920 divided by 2. And then that's going to put it, it's going to put it in the center, but it's going to expand out this direction. So we need to actually minus out 123, which is its size, divided by 2, and that'll center it. And then on the Y position, let's put it at 180. And let's access that as a unique name as well. And we can save this scene. Under source, UI, save that. Let's create a new script. And let's come in here. Let's have var is game started, the bool, false. And then later we're going to use is paused, bool equals false. Now let's grab all our onReady vars. Let's grab all our labels first. Make sure this one's accessed as unique name. And then let's grab all these lives and pull these in as well. Let's come in here and we'll say function ready events.playerDied.connect on player died events.scoreChanged.connect on scoreChanged events.highscoreChanged.connect on highscoreChanged and events.gameover.connect on gameover. And let's initialize our labels here. So score label dot text is going to be equal to string game manager dot score. My score label dot text is going to be equal to string game manager dot high score. And let's do get tree dot paused equals true. And when we're pausing the scene tree, we want to make sure that we come to the UI here, click on the canvas layer, and go to process mode always, so that this script will always run even if the tree is paused. Because we're going to start and stop the game here in this script. We should probably handle that in the game manager, honestly. But I've set this up like this, so I guess we'll just do it like this. Do function input event if event dot is action pressed start. Say if is game started is false. Then we'll set is game started equal to true. We'll take the start label and we'll turn its visibility off. We'll unpause. And we will take life 05 and turn its visibility off. So it'll show when we're starting, it'll show 5 lives, but when we start the game, it'll take a life off, and that'll be the current life that we're on. So that when we're down to 0 lives, the game won't just end. It'll show us the game will play 1 more life, but we'll have 0 lives in the bank. Okay, let's set up these functions here. So on player died, let's match the game manager dot lives. So if we only have 4 lives left, then we want to take life 04 dot visible and turn it off. And we'll do the same thing for the other lives. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And that'll just visually turn our lives off to match how many lives we have left. Next, let's go to on score changed, and this will give us some points. This will give us the score. So we'll say score label dot text is equal to a string of our score. And same thing for the high score. On high score changed, we'll set our high score label dot text equal to a string of the high score. And let's do on game over. Let's turn all of our lives back on. So visible equals true. Copy that 4 more times. We'll set is game started false. We'll do start label dot visible equals true. And we'll do get tree dot paused equal to true. Also, while we're here, we might as well set up a little pause menu. So let's come back up here to UI and let's add a center container. And then under that center container, let's add a panel container. We're going to name this pause menu and access that as a unique name. Then under there, we'll have a margin container, and we'll just give it a margin of 8 all around. And so under there, we can take a VBox container, and then we can add a label to that. And we can say paused, and we will center that. And then we will create 2 buttons under here. So let's create 2 buttons. One will be the resume button, and one will be the quit button. And so we can put the text in there for that, resume and quit. And for this center container, make sure, let's come up here, click on the center container and set that to the full screen size. And then turn its mouse filter off. Even though it's not going to matter for this game, you always want to remember to turn those mouse filters off when you're covering up the entire screen. Okay, so we have a little pause menu here. Let's start with the pause menu not visible. And let's come up here and drag and drop that in. And let's go ahead and statically type all of our onReady vars here real quick. So these are all labels. These are all line 2Ds. And our pause menu is a panel container. Okay. Let's create a function here. Say toggle pause. So if is paused is false, we're going to set is paused equal to true. We're going to set pause menu dot visible equal to true. And we're going to take the tree and pause it equal to true. Else, that means we're already paused. We're going to set our flag is paused equal to false. And take our pause menu dot visible equal to false. And then down here, if is game started, if our game's already started, then we will unpause the game. Sorry, get tree dot paused equals false. And then up here in input, we can simply do if event dot is action pressed pause. We will simply toggle pause. Okay. Let's go to our game scene here. Let's save the player. Let's go to our game scene and add that UI in. Put it at the top. Put it below world environment. All right. So let's test that out. We should have some... Okay, that's off the screen. I'll have to fix that. Let's test that out. Let's try to get some points here. There we go. We got some points. See if we can crash into this little asteroid here. And we have a debug warning here. Let's check that. Can I collide with this? Boom. And do we lose a life? No, we don't. What is this debug warning? Error calling signal destroyed. Method expected 0 arguments, but was called with 1. So events, alien destroyed, points. Where is that? Alien destroyed. It should be calling with points. And just give me a second here. We got a crime baby. Okay. I figured out the problem why our UI wasn't lined up right here. So if we come to the score label, and I've set this to 9,999,000. Let's give this a custom minimum size of 152. And don't hit enter there. That just, oh, that needs to be on the X minimum size. And then we will do shrink end here. So that'll make sure that that's all lining up properly. And then if we come to our event, alien destroyed, if you highlight that and then do Control-Shift-F, we can figure out wherever we're using this, wherever we're connecting to this signal. And down here, we connected to on alien destroyed, but we didn't have an argument in there. So we need to add points here. and we're not going to be using those points, so just put a underscore in front of it, and that won't give you a warning there, and that'll fix that error there. So let's go in here and let's so now that's lined up properly. Let's check our pause menu. So we got our pause menu there. We hit resume, and it's not closing the pause menu, and quit isn't hooked up either. And that is because we never hooked up our signals on our pause and on our resume button and our pause button. So let's come in here and let's connect to those press signals on the resume button and on the quit button. So on resume button press, let's do toggle pause. And on quit button press, let's do get tree.quit. All right, let's try this out. Pause menu, resume, and the game still stays paused. So let's hit S to start. Now the game is started. We hit our pause menu, game is paused. We can resume, and the game resumes. And we can also quit.